Hi, everybody. Hi. So, have you ever heard of post-traumatic growth? Have you ever heard the term post-traumatic growth? So, I gather, I bet most of you, we've all probably heard of post-traumatic stress before. But what's this like the first time I ever heard that term post-traumatic growth, it was I was in this 3-month resilience training after the year after Superstorm Sandy, when I was digging deep for my personal life was challenged with my business, and my community, my clients' lives were reeling, and the Jersey Shore was reeling. It was really tough times. And so I heard this term post-traumatic growth, and as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh my God, I want that. So this is I'll just explain a little bit that I know about this. I feel like I'm maybe not fluent in positive psychology, but so here's the deal. So all of us at some point in our lives are challenged with adversity and tough times, right? Sooner or later, doesn't matter who you are, sooner or later, you're going to have some things happen out of our control, just like we're all going through now, right? So things happen. And so what they say is so there's this even point of our baseline of happiness, well-being, how we all have a different baseline. We have our baseline, and things happen, and then we dip down, maybe we drastically dip down, fall down. There could be a diagnosis of a health problem, or a family issue, or a relationship issue, or financial problems. All kinds of things can take you down, right? And so what happens is we go down, and we might be feeling oh my gosh, I'm feeling anxious and worried and stressed, and all these things that aren't the normal thing that we normally feel, but we go down. But usually sooner or later, we come back to what they call baseline. Most people recover and they come back to baseline, okay? But what they've discovered is that there's a population of people that come back, and they come back to higher than their baseline. They come back and recover, it's almost like a boomerang. They whip back and they come back stronger. So that's when I heard about this whole concept after Sandy, I was that's what I want, right? So this is the deal. My teacher taught us, she gave us some examples. This is what I remember. So think about, we've all heard about maybe, remember that TV show, that guy, I can still see his face. I don't remember his name, but he had this show, America's Most Wanted. He had a young boy that was kidnapped, and I think they I'm not a parent, but they say it's every person's worst tragedy, nightmare is to lose a child, regardless of how you lose them, but especially by a tragedy like this. So this guy, I can still see his face, but he lost his son to a kidnapped, murdered, and so I'm sure he went down, and then he came back above baseline, bounced back, post-traumatic growth, and decided he was going to help other people. And not that this wouldn't happen. He created America's Most Wanted. And then it was all about helping other people, find their children, and and then remember, did you ever hear of MADD, Mothers Against Drunken Drivers? Similar thing. This woman, she loses her daughter to she's a teenager daughter who is in a car accident with a friend, drunk. They were drinking and driving, or maybe I don't remember if they were drinking and driving or they got hit by a drunk. I think they got hit by a drunken driver. So they got hit by a drunken driver. I think that's what it was. They got hit by a drunken driver. Her daughter dies tragically, and she decided instead of becoming a bitter, angry woman, which you could easily see how anybody could do that, she said, I'm going to help I want this to never happen to anyone else. So she created MAD, Mothers Against Drunken Driving. That's post-traumatic growth. I think about Viktor Frankl, if you've ever heard, a Holocaust survivor. He's very famous. He wrote this book, Man's Search for Meaning, a very, very famous, I've been put it on the coffee table, haven't reread it again, but it's a book I read a long time ago. Viktor Frankl was in the concentration camps during the Holocaust, and he was in he was from somewhere in Eastern Europe, and he was a medical doctor. He was a psychiatrist, I think, and he ended up like losing all of his siblings that were taken away, and his parents. The whole family was taken away, and they all were perished. They all died, and he not only did he survive, he was one of those that came back way strong, way high. And like wrote a book about it, Man's Search for Meaning, which is all about what he learned in the concentration camps. And this is some of what I remember from his book, and even my teacher when she talked about him as an example. Viktor Frankl, like there could be a flicker of light as he's in his dark, dreary dormitory, like in horrific living conditions. A flicker of light might be coming through the crack of I don't even know if they had windows, the crack in the wall, maybe a window, but even a crack in the wall. He'd see a flicker of light, and he would like be in like taking it all in appreciation of like a light, the sun. Or he got a cup of broth every day. No food. That's why they all were looked like skeletons. A cup of broth. And he said sometimes there'd be like a strand of like a vegetable, a strand. And he would keep it in his mouth and savor it and suck on it and just take it in and be grateful. He was grateful for that little tiny little like thing that he could enjoy. Amazing, right? And he also like what he was learning and seeing about people who thought about purpose and why would they wanted to get out because they wanted to like tell the story. He wanted to survive so he could tell the story of what happened. And like also that he knew that there was a purpose. His purpose was to live and tell the story. And tell the story of man, that we have within us this capacity to discover something way deep inside of us, a purpose, I'll call it, a purpose, or like a reason for living, like a reason for living. And he that's what he dug deep, and he discovered that there was a purpose and a reason for living so that he could teach other people and write about it and talk about it. And he ended up becoming a teacher. I don't know if he was a college professor or something, but I remember hearing this story that when his students finally appeared live, he said, "I've been waiting for you for a very long time." Isn't that amazing? Because he like practiced gathering, like I guess any good professor would, information and tools that he was going to teach his students about meaning and like what it is that can help us survive the most difficult, challenging times in our lives. Like, isn't that amazing? Viktor Frankl. Another quick one. I'll just have another quick story because this is my own, like I always think of this one. Like I didn't learn about this from Maria or in the class, but like I love the story of like I come from like a family that my brothers all played football, and football was all a big thing in my family. But so here's the story. Like Drew Brees, who's now the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Whether you like football or not, okay, this isn't a football story, not a football story, but just a little side story. Drew Brees plays football. He's like a very famous quarterback. My brother Todd has been his personal trainer for, I don't know, 17 years or something like that. So that's how, but in early 2000s, Drew was a quarterback. He had a 5-year contract with the San Diego Chargers. That's how my brother Todd met him. He was a quarterback with the San Diego Chargers. He had a 5-year contract. Honest to God, this is true. It doesn't even almost seem real. But the last game of his 5-year contract, he didn't have a contract after this. He was negotiating. He wanted to stay with San Diego. He wanted to. I think some other people were interested in him, but he wanted to stay in San Diego. And, he wasn't famous yet, but he like the last game of this 5-year contract, he had a devastating injury. Like he's a quarterback. He's throwing he got tackled, sacked, whatever they call it. And, he's the quarterback. They like taken down, ripped his labrum and his shoulder, like needed surgery. So this is like December 31st of whatever year it was, 2004, I think it was. And like right after that, like San Diego was kind of like, they just didn't even really want, they loved him. They were very thankful, but they just didn't want to take a risk. They didn't think he was ever going to maybe recover, but not play football at that level of where you're going to pay somebody a lot of money. So they were, so poor, like Drew goes off, he has surgery, he's got his arm in a sling, but he's not given up, and he's like thinking but nobody's interested in Drew except, this is like such an amazing, I get goosebumps every time I tell this story. Think of it. Sean Payton, the coach for the New Orleans Saints, contacts Drew with his arm in a sling, like a couple months after he has surgery, early January. They had just had Katrina. New Orleans is underwater still. It's a catastrophe, unbelievable. New Orleans is like everyone thinks New Orleans toast, done. It's gonna sink. And Sean Payton gets in touch with him and says, we want you to come to New Orleans. Drew gets on a plane, he and his wife. And they I think they're go by helicopter over New Orleans, because literally it's swampland, underwater. And Drew and Brittany realized with Sean Payton, this is where Drew, arm in a sling, this is where I need to be. I am going to recover. I'm coming back stronger, and I'm gonna not only me come back stronger, I'm gonna take the city of New Orleans back stronger. Okay, he thought, okay, this is what I need to do. And he trained and did everything and then some to recover and train and recover. And this is the goose, then that was 2004, 5 years later, a few years later, 2000, I think it was 2009. He got, well, first of all, he got, as the quarterback, the leader of his team in New Orleans, he got them all on board to believe that was their destiny. They were going to take the city of New Orleans and help them recover, because tourism was down. Nobody wanted to come there. They were still recovering. We all know it takes a long time to recover from a natural disaster. So Drew got the team to believe that they could do this. And guess what? Super Bowl. They got to the Super Bowl. I forget the team they played against, but they got to the Super Bowl, which is a miracle anyway. And it was Super Bowl 44. I remember my brother Todd telling me that the off season when he was training, it was the goal was Super Bowl 44, and Drew wanted to do 44 reps of everything, 44 reps, driven, focus, visualize, 44 reps, Super Bowl 44. I'm going there. And guess what? He went there and they won. And he got the most valuable player, and he came back stronger, and he wrote a book about it. He wrote a book about not only him coming back stronger, but getting his mind right, getting this whole miracle. You could think when you align yourself, forces, everything, whatever. He did his part, and the rest was miraculous, really. I remember I was at a friend's house at a Super Bowl party. I can still remember when they won. I knew it was for more than just the team of the New Orleans Saints. It was for New Orleans, and wow, what a miracle. And then Drew went on to become famous, and he got a 5-year $100 million contract or something. I mean, who cares about money? But he became and who would have ever thought that when he had his arm in a sling and had surgery, but that's post-traumatic growth. He came back way stronger because he believed he could. And he had a goal. He had a purpose. So here we are, quarantine, pandemic, all this stuff going on. I'm not seeing my clients and working. I just have to believe that even though I'm not fluent in this, I'm not a teacher of I learned so much in positive psychology. I did this year-long. I just know that that we all have resources and tools inside of us, and it's so difficult to be fearful and worried and afraid and think that things aren't going to get better, and who knows when it will, but they can and they will, and we have to just keep believing and dig deep and find meaning in this, find meaning that of there always is. If you look for it, you gotta look for it. gotta look for it and dig deep, and you'll find it. And that's what will carry you through. And hopefully, like, you'll, like, you know, will bounce back higher, not individually and collective, and maybe as the state of New Jersey will, and New York, and then the state of the country of America, and like a whole world, and like everybody will have this, who knows, an awakening, like a healing, like, I don't know, it could be fantastic. It could be fantastic. I know it might look like too, I'm like, my chair is like a rocker, so that's why I kind of but it could be fantastic. I believe it could be that we all experience globally post-traumatic growth. Who knows? I mean, you know what? If the Berlin Wall could come down in like whatever it was, whenever it was, you know, when Ronald Reagan said, take that wall down, right? And who would have ever thought that the Berlin Wall during the cold, like, would ever come down? It did. Anything can happen. And Drew Brees could like go on to like break his shoulder and think they never, and then win the Super Bowl, and like, you know, like anything can happen. And Viktor Frankl, like, there's so many stories of post-traumatic growth. That's what I want for everyone to like, but you know what? It takes like staying connected to hope and faith and believing and knowing and surrounding yourself with positivity, and not to be a la land of denial, but just to like, you know, you gotta like look, like Viktor Frankl did, look for that light, that little flicker of light. It's out there, it's there. All right, guys, signing off. And post-traumatic growth, PTG, post-traumatic growth. That's what I want for all of us. For me, I want that for me. I want that for you. I want that for all of us, for the whole planet, for the whole world, for the whole planet. Imagine that if we all had this collective awakening, and like, who knows, don't even get me started. I'll do another thing on that someday. Oh, my dream, I'll imagine that. All right, lots of love. Bye.